Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Mortgage Matters in Minutes. I'm Brent Rasmussen, your host, sponsored by Mortgage Specialists. Obviously, each week we're here to come give you some free education and information that may concern you when it comes to real estate or your home lending or mortgage needs. So this week we've been getting a question again with the kind of market that we're in, obviously. Prices are high. I don't have enough income to support the payment. Can I have a cosigner? And obviously, cosigning is a possibility, is a thing that you can do. Obviously, a cosigner generally needs to be a family member. It depends on what kind of loan we're looking at, but it usually does need to be a cosigner, especially on the home lending side. But in my perspective, home cosigning is not always the best thing for everyone. And so we're going to talk a little bit about why should I not cosign. Cosigning is a good reason. Many times you would want to cosign because you might be living in that property with another person, or you are a family member that really wants to help another family member out by getting them into a property. So cosigning means you are a full borrower. You are fully obligated on that loan the same as the other person. And I can share with you many times people believe that cosigning isn't a full borrower. It's no big deal. I'm just a co. And I would suggest to people that being the co means equal to the borrower in regards to the lending piece. You are still an obligated borrower. So whatever happens, positively or negatively, can influence you. So why do I say it's not a good idea to cosign? It limits your borrowing power is the first number one thing, is that if you're signing for another loan of $100,000 or $200,000, that loan will show up on your credit report. So that will show up as a debt payment, which obviously limits the amount that you can actually afford in regards to qualifying for your next purchase, your next vehicle, whatever the case may be. That debt is going to count against your income. And all loans calculate a debt to income. You can only have so much debts in relationship to how much income that you have. So that's negative consequence number one. Number two is that it can lower your credit scores two ways. One, by having additional debts. It obviously can show that you owe more money even though you're not making that payment. The credit report doesn't know that, but it just knows the amount of debt that you have, which could cause and lower your score to go down. But also, if for some reason the person that you co-signed for didn't make the payment or didn't make the obligation, that late payment is going to show up on your credit report. So I know many people say, I'm not terribly worried. This person is really responsible, but anything can happen in someone's life. They become injured, they become disabled, they have cancer. Many things happen that outside of our control, such as losing your job. And if you don't have that income to make that payment, then either you would make that payment for them or it becomes late and that affects your credit score as well. One of the biggest factors, reasons why I'm not a big proponent of cosigners, is it can damage your relationship with your family member. So when you cosign, it must be a family member. And so if there's an issue of not being able to make the payment, or something goes awry that one person wants to sell the house, another person wants to keep the house, there's these family dynamics and discussions that if it doesn't favor both people, usually one party is going to be upset. And I like to tell people, if you don't have to get involved with family and finances, don't do it. I see it happen enough. It gets into problems. And while everybody is looking at it that it's going to go well right now, it doesn't always mean that it will. I mean, half of marriages end up in a divorce. So that's a 50% chance there. Obviously, I see the same percentages and numbers carrying over into co-signing, is that at some point in time someone wants out, at some point in time someone becomes late, and it affects everyone, and it gets to be a tough discussion to have among your family members about why someone just isn't honoring their obligation. Another negative is that you could be sued. Obviously, if you go into foreclosure, you don't make your payments, you can be sued for that if you don't actually end your bargain, and that could also negatively impact your credit. Or if someone is the owner of a property and falls and becomes injured on the property, they could find you and sue you as well. So being that you're just on the loan is not all that true. You're also, as an owner of the property, being on title as an asset, if you ever become sued or something happens, you're included in that lawsuit, being an owner of that full property itself. Another negative that can happen. And the last thing that I see on a regular basis is that removing your name as a cosigner is not the easiest. What that means is that when you take out that particular loan, you agree at that point in time to be the obligator to make that mortgage payment. You also own that property, but any point in time you want to change and say, hey, I no longer want to be a cosigner. I want to be off this loan. The only two things that can happen is either someone else refinances that loan, take your name off, or they pay the loan outright in full. And what I see also happen is that people at the time say, I only want to cosign maybe for a year or two, and then have the individual refinance out of their name. Well, what could happen is rates are very good when you took out the loan, and then 2 years later, 12 months later, interest rates have went up 2-3%. Then obviously everybody says, well, I don't want to refinance. I'll just leave you on there as a cosigner. But the person that cosigns states, I want to be done with the obligation. Hence where this dynamic comes from, discussions, sometimes arguments, sometimes discrepancies between what is good and what's not. I can tell you the word cosigner gets thrown out all the time. It's very rarely ever used just because of these negative connotations that happen being a cosigner. Obviously with a vehicle loan, cosigning is a little bit more different. It's easier for a car lot to go and repossess a vehicle and take that vehicle away, sell the vehicle and pay off the loan note, and then obviously charge the deficiencies. So car loan cosigning is completely different than when it comes to home loan cosigning. And what I suggest to people is that when you are a cosigner, you are a full borrower, just like the other person that is going to be living in there full time. You are treated the same. So when we go over cosigning with individuals, we also speak with the family and explain the negatives with the positives. Obviously, the pros are you get the property, you get the home, you get what you want because you don't have enough income to support it on your own. But there always comes negatives with the pros that come with cosigning. And we covered those today. And we're always here to answer those questions to make sure all parties are educated and informed before making their final decision. The last thing we want from our consumers is to not know something down the road because they were misinformed, miseducated, whatever the case is. I'd rather have everybody have all the facts before making a decision, and that's how we operate here at Mortgage Specialists. If we can help help by answering any other questions that you may have, we have many blogs on our website at mtg-specialist.com, or you can phone call us at 402-991-5153, and we're always here to help answer any questions for you, regardless of what they might be, either simple or massive. We've heard it all and been through it all and love to assist any way we possibly can. Hopefully we'll see you all here next week with another week of Mortgage Matters in Minutes at 3 o'clock Central Time. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you here next week. Thank you. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.